pictures that we have from belief systems and religion in this place, commonly called a pentagram. And so, from where this model talks, this symbol, if we were going to move on from fifth dimension to a picture even bigger than spirit, even more powerful than choice, what that might be. And when I take that train of thought for myself, I reach a level of consciousness that I know of as creator. Now, at sixth dimension here, this is myself as a creator. And so myself with the ability to create in a particular way, and what this model says that I use to create in sixth dimension is thought. And so what this would be suggesting, if I were to retreat into myself all the way to the sixth dimension, it would be a place where thought manifests. I wouldn't even have to choose it. I would just think it, and it happens, if you could imagine such a place. And I'm going to ask once again, what would happen if I were to connect the dots so that all of these aspects, all of these parts of myself, all of these dimensions of myself were all in communication with each other, and what sort of a picture would I get? And I get one more of these religious symbols that I know of from this place. And so a picture that from this model represents the sixth dimension of me, the creator dimension of me. And so where would we go if we evolved sixth dimension one more order of magnitude larger than creator? And when I take that train of thought for myself, it takes me to a place I know of as many creators. And many creators, we've gone through choice in fifth dimension, we've gone through thought in sixth dimension. In seventh dimension, what this model says when we reach many creators is we come to a place where desire manifests. And so a place where I wouldn't even have to think about it, I wouldn't have to choose it. Wanting it would be enough to manifest my desires. And I can only suggest to you all that when we reach seventh dimensional consciousness and we're talking about manifesting our desires, folks, we are the many creators in this place, in seventh dimension. And so this picture is just pictures of us staring into this mirror world, into this crystal ball world that we call time, and our desires, our thoughts, our choices, our interpretations are indeed creating what we perceive to be reality. And so before we move on to eighth and above dimensions, I'm just going to belabor this point for a minute or two. This is about manifesting reality, and ultimately about manifesting our desires. And what this model says happens here begins in seventh dimension with desire, and says that desire combines with thought, and combines with choice, and combines with possibility to manifest events that we interpret and ultimately experience. And ultimately what we do experience is our own interpretation of events. In order for those events to occur, it had to be possible for those events to occur. From this model, choice is what set this in motion. And above choice, before I chose it, I thought about it. And before I thought about it, my desire was at the root of all of this. And I just want to leave, before we move on to eighth and above dimension, leave you with a question here. What happens when desire becomes bent and twisted from fear? When we play compete for survival, when we play blame and punish as a game, what do we begin to think when that happens? And what kind of choices do we make when desire is bent and twisted from fear, and we're thinking from there? What are the possibilities when we choose from there? What are the possible outcomes when we choose from fear? We think from fear when desire has become bent and twisted in that way. What sort of events do we manifest? What are we interpreting when we are in fear? And what ultimately do we experience? What do we manifest here that we interpret and experience, all because fear got put into the equation up here when our desire became to not be afraid? So with that, I'm going to move us on to eighth dimension. And just to recap before we do that, I want to remind us where we're moving from, which was seventh dimension, where we have a many creators perception of self. And so if we take many creators, yet another level out, another order of magnitude larger, it follows that many creators most likely create many universes. And you may have heard the term multiverse. It's just another way to say eighth dimension here. And what I have on this picture are my own imaginings of what different universe configurations might be. It just happens that in this reality, in the space-time continuum from where I'm talking, our universe happens to look like this one, what's called a Mobius curve, and so something that always returns to the same place no matter what direction it chooses. Matter comes out of the quasar, travels through space and time, and ultimately disappears into the black hole, only to come back out of the quasar again and play this game all over again. And in a many universes dimension, each of these possible universes might also have many versions of itself. And so that might look something like this. If this is a representation of my universe, a Mobius curve, then my universe may have many parallel universes, all of which are different versions of the one that I consciously remember from talking to you in this place. If I take many universes, another order of magnitude larger, I'm just going to ask you all first, where would I go? What is larger than the multiverse? And the answer I get from this model of reality says that I go to a dimension that I know of as all that is. So even more encompassing than many universes, even more encompassing than many dimensions. Everything that exists from where I am able to speak to you today. I'm going to ask us all once again, is there anything beyond all that is? And from this model, absolutely, because in order for it to be, it had to be possible. And so if there is a 10th dimensional perspective here, I don't know that I have a name for it, but it would be a place where the impossible actually becomes possible. And if I ask us once again, if we go even larger than a place where the impossible becomes possible, where might that take me? And so it takes me to a perception of an 11th dimension, where possibility actually has become a constraint. And so in 11th dimension, I come to a place I know of as beyond possibility. And just one more way to say that, and I know I'm repeating the word here, but possibility no longer applies in 11th dimension, if you could imagine such a place. And so if we go even beyond a reality, beyond a dimension where possibility is no longer a constraint, where might that take us? And in this model, that takes me to where we've been trying to get all along, the 12th dimension. And from this model, the 12th dimension takes me to a place I know of as prime creator. Prime meaning single creator of everything from dimensions 11 all the way down to 1. And so you can use whatever term you like, source, God, if you have any other term for this perception of self, this dimension of consciousness, this is where this ultimately takes me. And I just wanted to leave us all with a question in the end. Is there anything beyond this? Is there anything beyond a perception of a prime creator? And I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there's not. It's just fuel for thought, because the question becomes, is prime creator alone in his or her or its existence? And if not, is it possible that there are actually many prime creators? And if there are indeed many prime creators, could you even begin to imagine what must be out there to be known or experienced or learned? And if it does indeed go to a 13th dimension where there are indeed many prime creators, then there must be a whole other level of dimensions out there that I am unable to even begin to account for. But I am going to leave us at this point and just say thank you for listening. And feel free to share this video with anyone that you feel might find it of interest.